Yeah. Ba, 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 ba. Da, da, da. All right. We gotta turn this music off because I'll have a copyright. Hello, folks. Let's see what we got here. Today, I will not forget my YouTube people. Bob Ramos, what's up, bro? As we said in Rhythm Method, let us pray. Let us pray. That was, let's see. Let me get to the Facebook questions here. Ooh, what did I just close? All right. Cheryl Griffith, how are you? Cheryl Griffith, boy, a little tongue-tied. Cheryl Griffith, happy new week to you as well, my friend. And thank you for putting an accent on my E. I mean, that is, it's really, a lot of people forget that. Hey, Kevin Ritchie, who knows how to spell my name, but I'm sure some autocorrect gremlin stepped into the fray there and called me Andrew. But I know you know the difference. Let's see. Okay, I want to, like I said, I got to make sure my YouTube people are here because they do, and a lot of people don't like to go on Facebook. So you might hear my voice for a second. Here we go. All right, we have all of our windows. We got Twitch, Twitter. Actually, I get one or two people on Twitch once in a while. I really got to spend more time with Twitch. It's really cool. I like it. It's very high quality audio, and it's what the kids are doing. Yeah, called me Andrew. A lot of the gamers are on there. So got to keep up. Kevin, okay, yeah, man. Well, good luck, bro. Medical times are always stressful. My heart goes out to you. I actually, on my little cue cards here, I've got some notes, and I always got to remember to get a fresh one because there's always some new topics. There we go. But on my other cue cards, I've got medical stuff on here because my medical update is so far so good, and I'm going to talk about that a little bit. We're going to talk about a bunch of things today. Man, this is so many. We're the good news channel sometimes. I try on Monday to bring a little photosynthesis, a little sunlight into your life. But I'm also a realist. I'm an Aquarius. I'm always looking at the future. I'm always trying to figure out what's next. But I also love history, so it's this moving thing, and I think I stay incredibly positive. I'm always I'd be suicidally depressed if I didn't have a way out of thinking about the various things that we're dealing with. But I stay positive. I really do. Sometimes people confuse harsh realism with negativity, but I just like to call a spade a spade. Can you say that anymore? I don't know. I got to check that. But that's the thing. It's all satire. It's all parody. It's all it's one big artwork, folks. My life is a tribute to Dick Gregory and George Carlin and Paul Krasner and Richard Pryor and Gil Scott-Heron and Frank Zappa and Mark Hostler and the Negative Land guys. I just love all of that. I just named a bunch of my psychology right there. Laurie Anderson, storytellers, you know, and James Baldwin, Grace Jones. Holy shit. Did you see that documentary? Always loved Grace Jones, some singles here and there, but we watched the documentary the other day. What's it called? Bloodlights and Bammy. Wow. Really great. Please, if you have, I think it's on Hulu, but it's 2021. You can find it. But Grace Jones documentary, just look for it. Spectacular. And those of you who know me know I'm always doing segues. She's Jamaican, and we're going to talk about some Jamaican food today. So, we have that. But Bloodlight and Bammy is this amazing documentary on Grace Jones, and it really focuses on this little period of time when she was making an album called Hurricane, and it shows her going down to Jamaica and visiting and being with her family and her mom and different siblings and stuff. Beautiful shots, Jamaica. Man, I think about Jamaica most days at some point. Just picture that beach. It's been many years since I've been there, but really great because that film, I felt like I was visiting up in the North Coast and all up and down the black sand beach area and Trelawney and all this stuff. So Grace Jones, Jamaica. We're gonna go to Jamaica today with a video because we're talking about food and we're talking about great food. And if you like great food, wow, the Caribbean in general, please. So happy to have grown up with a lot of that food. I grew up in Chicago for about 5 years, from 0 to 5. So I ate, what kids in America ate from 1965 to 1970. Was it Dolly Madison? Chocolate donuts. I loved those. And pizza and, all the things kids eat. My parents fed me pretty healthy, I think. But I remember in Chicago, the Polish sausages. Any people from Chicago remember these little trucks, like in New York, you have the hot dog carts. Well, they have Polish sausage in Chicago. So I grew up eating all that, and they were delicious. The spicy, really spicy stuff. The thing that people need to understand is when we grow up and eat all these foods, we don't know what it is, and we're just experiencing the chemical reaction: fat, salt. Whether there's some pickles in there, there's crunchiness, there's black pepper, there's herbs. Notice all the things we use to make meat taste good is usually plants, right? Herbs and vinegar and fermentation and things from plants. Of course, there's exceptions. Of course, I know all about steak tartare. Of course, I know about sashimi and ceviche and certain parts of Africa where they take the blood right out. I know people ingest raw animal material. But by and large, 99% of the time, humans take animal flesh and do something to it, right? We burn it so the blood's gone, or, we do different things, dry it. But most of all, we put it with other stuff, right? We put it with tomatoes and onions, and we put it with, herbs and spices, and, so it's just interesting. But jumping around here, but I grew up in the Caribbean. I grew up in Guyana, South America, for 5 more years. 71 to 76. And just amazing food of my homeland. One of the interesting things about Guyana, there's many interesting things. Um, no one should live there. It's a swamp. It's the capital city where virtually everyone is at the mouth of a river, and it should be underwater. The Dutch came along, and as they did in Netherlands, they pulled the shit out of the sea with dikes and canals and seawalls and what's the other word? There's another I forget the Dutch word, but pumping the water out and making it arable land. They're brilliant at the end of the day, and they realized no one was colonizing this area because it was pretty messy. It's pretty tough going. It's the mouth of a river, and it's just so where I was born is actually under sea level, and I worry about it in these coming times with all the floods and climate change. Man, where I was born, that shit's gonna be gone in one day, folks. When the water rises, I'm not exaggerating. It is so. Uh, it's not. I'm laughing because not because it's funny, because it's just so dark. But so that's one of the amazing things about Georgetown, Guyana, about where I was born. The other thing is, um, it's the only English-speaking nation in South America. The only non-Spanish or Portuguese-speaking nation. French, of course, and Dutch exists in the other Guyanas, but only English-speaking, exclusively English-speaking. Of course, they speak English in all the other countries to some extent, but so that's an interesting thing. The Dutch colonized it, and through some bloody, nightmarish, racist, imperialistic, colonializing backdoor deals, the Dutch passed it on to the English, who then continued the slaughter and the rape and the murder and the slavery. And we were British Guyana until the year after I was born. Along with all that stuff came, some good schools, some good education, some good roads, and good management of water, and a sugar industry, a rum industry. So in any dark, there's a little light, and vice versa. The yin yang, my favorite symbol that speaks to so much of our experience. But so that's a couple interesting things about Guyana. The one more thing I'll say, and this is all about food, is that it's roughly half and half. Let's say 90 to 95% of the people there are black or Indian descent, African descent or Indian descent. The other 10% would be what we call Amerindians, which are the various Arawak peoples that are the same people that, the Taínos, right? The people in Puerto Rico, Boricua, those are Taíno. They're all a diaspora of these folks who were in these continents way long time ago, right? So Aztecs, Mayans, Arawaks, whatever different terms and tribes we have. But that's the Amerindians, we call them, which is, a bullshit Western name, is part of that other percent. White descendants of English and Portuguese and Spanish and Dutch and French settlers are also in Guyana. Chinese people, a lot of Chinese people. I have Chinese people and Asian people in my family. I have Indian people in my family. So, but the country is essentially half African, half Indian, almost. So, wow, the food is incredible because there's this template of kind of a bit of English food, like different pies and the little, what we call patties, and the different bakes and cakes and sweet type things. Very English. A lot of tea drinking and stuff like that. A lot of the roasts and stews that English people have. But then all the different African enslaved people came, and so there's all these ground provisions and ground vegetables and eddos and yams and, sweet potatoes and those kind of things that are such a big part of so many African cultures. You see in Guyana, and plantains and, of course, bananas, mangoes, pineapples, all the fruits that you expect in a tropical world. But then Indian people were brought there as indentured servants after slavery was, you know, just starting to taper off in the 1800s. They brought boatloads of Indian people. They said to people in India, which was having some fucked up times, also, thank you, English imperialists, right? India was kind of rough, and they would put the word out, hey, do you want to get on a boat and travel for a couple weeks to an even hotter place closer to the equator? And depending on where you are in India, it might be just as hot. But come on along, and you know you'll have a new life. It's a new country that we're bringing people to. And so a lot of Indian people were there. So there's a lot of beautiful things. Unfortunately, there's a lot of this with Indian descent and African descent people. A lot of it instigated by the English because it's what they do. I love the English. It's yin yang. I love England. Love going there. Many close and dear English friends. I have English relatives. Again, I have cousins and cousins and uncles and aunts and stuff who have lived in England since the 60s and either have English children or married English people. English people are great. English history, not so great. so those are just some things. And I'm just trying to throw at you just a little bit of fleshing out of what got me here and what got me into food and natural living. And we have really, really great and interesting food there. And any country that has a collision of cultures, you're going to get some interesting food. So we're going to look at some stuff today. We're going to look at some stuff on that. Oh, Steve tells me my audio is very quiet. Hey. Thank you, Steve. Let's see. I can get a little more gain there if I need it. But tell me if that's better, Steve. All right. That's my monologue. Let's go back and see who's here. Kevin, no, it's fine. You can always mention that, man. Come on, bro. We're here to support each other. And so I send you positivity. Hope it goes well with the medical shenanigans. Man, I know. Hospitals right now too, right? Psh. Okay, so Bassam, Bassam, I quoted you last night. I forget why I made something up. I said Bassam would probably say, speaking of satire and sarcasm and performance art, my friend Bassam Habal is here, and he's asking if I'm going to that guy's inaugural. I love it. He's jumping right to, hey, he's going to be the president again. So are you coming to the inaugural? That's great, bro. Send me an invite. I'll be sure to RSVP. Oso, how are you, Oso? Some of those spices are antibiotics to keep the food safe for children. Absolutely. You start getting into, wow, okay, my power is still, my volume. All right, let's see if I got something wrong in Zoom. Hang on, let me. Okay, check 1 2 1 1 1. Um, yeah, this is weird. I mean, Gremlins. This is where those digital boards where you can save everything have a little bit more. Okay, Steve, I just turned up again, and I put a little gain from my $30 Alesis MIDI Verb 4. Yeah, what a pawn shop steel that was. Please let me know if you can hear me, folks, because that's important. Luis, how are you? Wow, I'm always honored when you check in, bro, because it feels so international when my friends far away are here. Louis Gil Betancourt. That's my dear friend from the Azores. Do you folks know where the Azores is? I'm probably pronouncing it wrong. But I was just talking about Portuguese people. I don't know if you caught that, Luis. I was talking about Guyana, where I'm from, and how we grew up with many Portuguese people. I have Portuguese blood. I have, cousins, friends, family. So great to see you there as our bringing our planet together. Okay, so it sounds great there. Steve Hershey says same. Oh, that was a few minutes ago. Okay. Well, Steve, let me know how it's going because I think it's fixed. I think a couple of people are saying it feels okay. All right, so I'm going to do a couple things now. And I'm glad Luis gave me a little cue there because we got the Azores. The Azores. I know I'm saying that wrong. But let's zoom in. Do you all know about the Azores? Terceira is where I met my friend Luis. We were on tour. I was with Al Di Meola about 15 years ago. Jeez, wait. Yeah, 15 years ago. Can you believe that shit, Luis? 15 years? I miss you, bro. That's been too long, man. But we did a gig in Lisbon, Portugal, but also on this island, which you can see there, folks, on the map, and I'll zoom in. Did you know that there were some islands that are part of Portugal way out there? Way, way out. Look at that. As we go in, you see these beautiful islands. Angra do Herismo, Praia da Vitória, Velas, Santa Cruz da Graciosa, Santiago do Hacem. Sorry for the horrible Portuguese, non-Portuguese accent. But there you have it. So these cool little islands. So cool. And Luis is a great guitarist. And if you know the name Betancourt, Luis Betancourt, there's a kid who learned everything he knows about guitar from Luis, and his name is Nuno Betancourt. And that's where he was born, right there, folks, on that beautiful island. Once again, such good food. Wow. Wow. There's a lot of seafood, of course, because they're in the middle of the fucking sea. But it was amazing vegetarian food, and Luis took care of me. There was so much great food. Wow. Fresh. Vegetables. Wow. Just amazing food trip that was. I remember. But, yeah, so we're going to go on the map a little bit today. Cheryl says Portuguese wine. Yes, definitely. Beautiful place. All right, so the other, as we go around the world, I need to show you this. Let's do this. Anthony Marcion, how are you, my friend? Good to see you over on YouTube here. Frank Bellina, good to see you, bro. And you're saying I can't tell using compression. Okay. All right. Well, as long as you can hear me, that's all. That's good. Let's see. Let's find this little video for y'all. We've got. Oh, there it is. Perfect. All right. So this is a tiny little video. I made this video. I'm not going to tell you where I was. You'll see in a minute. But I am the cameraman on this video. And, well, I'll just play it and then you can take a look. All right. But just know that I'm filming on my phone right now. It's kind of terrifying, actually. All right, here we go. So that's where I was born, folks. This is Georgetown, Guyana. Look how low that is to sea level. And if you can just squint, there is a seawall holding the sea away from this city. Little city of Georgetown, Guyana. There we go. So, yeah, little screen share of video that I made flying back from a massive, the tallest free falling waterfall is in Guyana. And so we went to see this, to fly, or we went and you fly there, and then you hike around, and you get to go right up to this incredible waterfall. And what good is this unless I show you the waterfall? So here we go. So there's pretty much similar shot that I just gave you, but going the other way. And you fly in this little fucking plane. I can't believe I did this. And here it is. Look at that. Look at that. Come on, folks. Yep, we did this exact landing. And you feel very far away. Then you hike. This is almost the exact. And you're hiking through the fucking Amazon rainforest. Man. That is the tallest single drop waterfall on planet Earth. I stood right there at the edge, on the right side of the screen, which is fucking crazy. I can't believe I did that. And you can see at the bottom right, you can walk right up to that rocks on the edge, but looking from here, I'm like, what the fuck are you thinking? All of us, my whole family, about 20 of us. Some people got in the water. Fuck that. That's kind of breathtaking. That is. So what did you think? That's where I'm from. So, let's see. Okay, I'm back on this one. Okay. So, all right. Leon Alvarado is throwing down. All right. Um, I didn't say it's the tallest falls. I said it's the tallest single drop. So, geologists or who figures that shit out? Is it geologists? Well, anyway, so it drops straight down. Okay, from that edge you just saw, it's a straight drop. Other falls hit some shit and they continue down, but they define it as the tallest single drop. But Angel Falls, yes, is higher up. But anyway, anyone can look that up on Wiki. I'm not gonna argue about it, but that's the definition. It's the tallest single drop. So, but are you Venezuelan? Because we could start a Venezuela-Guyana war right here because our countries are probably, you know, heading towards hopefully not war. But Mika Helminen as a Lusophile, I'm very pleased to see. Oh, that's great. Yeah, love Portugal. It really was. It's one of those places we talk about moving to one day. Which you have these pipe dreams. We can't really afford to do that, but if it's time to get the fuck out, and we still can, it's one of the places on the list. As is Jamaica and Uruguay and Argentina and a number of other places, Eastern Canada. But Portugal is kind of an what's the word? A subtle gem of Western Europe. Beautiful place, beautiful people, food. Leon says those are pretty waterfalls. They're Kaichur. So you were born there. Okay. So Google it and you'll see that. I wouldn't say it's far from the tallest either, because it's right up there in the top couple tall ones. But it is as I say, tallest single. But Angel Falls, yeah, amazing. They all are. And hats off to a fellow South American. I've been to Venezuela once. Yeah. So another beautiful but complicated place. So there is the wiki on Kaichur Falls, Leon. So there you have it. What is the height anyway? 741 feet. So again, it's about how it goes straight down. So disambiguation. Okay. So again, just because you brought it up, and I love stuff like this. So Angel Falls is 979. That's 741. So it's 80% of the same height. So it's but Angel can't touch it for it's glorious, right? Bolivar State. But anyway, people, it's our big tourist attraction. There's not many there, but that's one of them. Celine, how are you? Good to see you. And yes, it's breathtaking. I mean, and it's possible if you had a global beauty contest for for waterfalls, it's gonna be way up there. Cause something about that, right? That reddish water, right? That's coming over. A lot of minerals, a lot of stuff. So okay, cool. So over to some food. Let's talk about food. I always check in. What did you have for lunch? What did you have today? Or dinner for some of you. Luis, it might be dinner time there. What did you have today, bro? And you know, I had today. I'm here to talk a lot about greens, amongst other things. But greens are just an incredible thing. I love them, and I had some greens for lunch. As I have greens for lunch or dinner. I'm gonna say, oh, 3 times a week. Sometimes 4 or 5 times a week. So, let's look real quick at. So yesterday I'm driving home, and there's this. We get greens every week, and we go to a farm market, and we get a CSA, which I've talked about all the time, and I'm always urging people to see if there's one local to you. What's a CSA? Community supported agriculture, and it's you find them everywhere, ever in the world, actually, in many places in the world, or similar things with different names. But in the U.S., they usually call them a CSA, and they have various things like subscription amounts or a la carte or whatever. Find one near you if you can, if you live anywhere near farms. What happens is every Friday, a van pulls up to our house, and a gentleman drops a cardboard box, recyclable cardboard box, no other pack. Oh, actually, sometimes there's some plastic in there if we get a loaf of bread or some kind of local hummus or cashew-based cheese or something we want to try out. But essentially, it's package free, and you have some broccoli in there. You've got carrots, beets, patty pan squash, kale, collards, chard, hot peppers, white potatoes, red potatoes, purple potatoes, heirloom purple tomatoes, cherry tomatoes, corn, a lot of corn right now. I've actually got 3 or 4 ears of corn that came Friday that I want to get involved with in the next day or two. So CSAs are beautiful because you've got some vegetables arriving every Friday, so you got to do something with them. So that's inspiring for us, and it's just fresh, it's organic, it's local, really pretty awesome situation. So, and one of my favorite drinks, also a South American sort of a thing, yerba mate, which I make myself from the tea bags, but I do like these in the can. It's quick, it's easy, and they're great. They're not too sweet, you know. For this big can, 28 grams of carbs, which I think a smaller soda is usually 30, 40, 50. So some carbs, but nice smooth kind of energy you get from yerba mate. Nice caffeine without um you know because you wouldn't want me all amped up. Okay, so greens. So I was just saying we get it from CSA. We pick them up at farm markets and the supermarket once in a while. If I'm, that's when I need greens. We grab a head of greens. Um, that's another beautiful thing with plant based. As you are, those of you getting more into plant based, if you find the right shops, there's no packaging for produce often, right? Something like kale, even mainstream supermarkets, it's just sitting there, right? In with the spray, usually water. Hopefully, right? It's water. Yeah, it's water that they spray, and you can just grab it in your own package. So greens. It's really a backbone of our diet here. So let's go to some. Here we go. I can pull some pictures up. So I'm coming home yesterday, and this guy, there's this house near where we live, near the farm market, and this family grows all these greens in the front yard. And we walk by, and we're like, man, it's so good. Like, look, do they eat any of this? Because it doesn't look like it. It's these huge bushes, kale, dandelion, chard, red kale, Russian kale. Beautiful yard. I mean, they're beautiful. Yesterday, I'm driving home. There's the guy, and I pulled up. I said, "Hey, dude, man, just want to say, love your front yard. We always walk by, and it's just beautiful." And he goes, "You want some?" Yes, thank you, man. What? He's like, "We have so many greens." He says, "You can't see it, but around the back of the house, I got a bunch more growing." He says, "I was like, wow, thanks." I was like, "Do y'all? How often do y'all eat greens?" He's like, 3, 4 times a week. He says, and I take it to work. I take it to. He said where he works, and he says he brings it there. He gives it away at soup kitchens. So he says, "What do you want? You want a little bit of everything?" Yeah. Well, thank you, man. Very kind. And so this guy, I watched him. He just, I think he had a little knife, yeah, because everything was cut nice and cleanly, and it happened so fast. And I'm sitting in my car. I got out and stuff. But he, well, you're gonna see a picture. He then cut. He just walked around his front yard. 15 seconds. Said, "Here you are, man. Thanks. Oh, thank you, bro." So, fresh, amazing greens, and a new friend. So, let's take a look. So I came home with this. Wow, amazing. So what do we have there? So, at the top, the really intense green chard, of course. On the left, it's like some sort of a kale. Is that a Russian kale, like a Russian red, a Russian green? And then the second from the left is your classic curly kale. That's the one you mostly see in American supermarkets and things like kale chips and kale smoothies. That's your usual one. A little bit more of that red kale in the center. And then on the right is, I think that's either called lacinato or dinosaur kale. It's the longer, thinner. And they call it dinosaur because it's a very, very ancient variety. Kale in general is a very old species, an old branch of the tree, as it were. But they call that dinosaur kale, whether or not the dinosaurs had it. Okay, and then we've got a little close up there, the other side of the chard, and chard is amazing with the red stem. By the way, on the bottom left there, you can see the compost, our compost container, because we compost almost about once a day. I take compost out to our compost, and we make incredible black soil. So I'm always encouraging people. But that's one way you can compost. You get one of those little bins. They're beautiful. The lid closes securely. You can see those holes on the top. There's a little filter that you put in there that you can wash out periodically. There's a little filter that lets the container breathe, but doesn't have kind of a smell of decaying food, composting food. Like I said, I empty it like just about every day, so we never have odor problems. Plus, it's wonderful smelling stuff. It's bits of onion and carrot peels and cucumber peels and coffee grounds and some lettuce the heel of the lettuce and things like that. So anyway, little glimpse of the compost device. And then finally, there's this shot, which is just the chard. So I came home and cleaned that up and steamed it later on. Wow, so good. So that's what I had for lunch, and I'm going to share that in a minute. What did you have for lunch? I got to make sure I'm checking in on my YouTube people. Here we go. Anthony says, yo, the plane looks sketchy. Yeah, it was scary, bro. Okay, my voice got drowned out. All right. But yeah, hopefully you got the gist of that. Anthony's getting into lentils. That's fantastic. Fantastic. Lentils are incredible. And I'm going to just like today I'm doing just greens as a focus. I decided, hey, let's break it up and do these kind of things. Lentils, I could do a whole day. Love lentils. They're incredible. What an incredible history. Was just speaking last night with a friend of mine about Italy and lentils and what a staple they are in Italy and what a staple they were for the Romans and the Roman soldiers. It was a very important food source. The Roman army, they realized, well, it's difficult to carry protein sources like chickens and cows and goats. Of course, they hunted along the way and they caught fish and they would catch things like pheasants and pigeons and probably squirrels and you name it. But a lot of fishing as they conquered a chunk of the world. They ate what was there where they were. But one thing I've read about that they lentils they're easy to carry, easy to store, last years, right? They just need to be, kept dry, relatively light for the amount of protein you get back. And you just need some water wherever you are. Just a little water and look around and say, oh, these herbs look good, and a little salt, which soldiers were actually paid in salt at a certain time. So lentils are cool. Thank you for bringing them up, uh, Anthony. Okay, so coming back, catch up on some comments here. I didn't know that word, lusophile. Thank you. I love new words. Wow, lusophile. What is that? That's liking the Portuguese culture. I thought so. Liking the. Okay, so it's like an Anglophile or Sinophile. I knew, from the file part, but I did never heard that. That's cool. Um, Lacey, how are you? You're right. Greens are pure sunlight without a sunburn. Exactly. That's a great. It should be a T-shirt, my friend. Celine, you had for lunch green beans and rice. That's great. A nice, basic, easy staple. You got some protein. You got some vitamins, some minerals there. You've got fiber. You know, I think green beans have some vitamin C, if I remember correctly. So you got a bunch of stuff there in a very simple beans and rice around the world, a staple. Um, Leon, in closing about the waterfalls, yes, definitely gorgeous falls, as they all are. Yes, uh, and thanks for sharing the video. Yeah, of course. Cheryl Griffith, you're having stuffed zucchini blossoms. Wow, haven't had those in forever. Wow, zucchini. Yeah, zucchini flowers. Some of you might know those as delicious. You're right, Lacey. Mate is life. I love it. Cheryl is also having a fresh pineapple jalapeno chutney. Wow, sounds delicious. Sounds spicy. Um, Lentil soup is pretty good. Yeah, it's one of my favorites. When I first went vegetarian in 1984, that got me through a lot. It was pre-made. I was 18, 19, just learning how to cook myself. But the Progresso lentil soup, are you kidding me? To this day, still something. I haven't had it though in a few years because they it says GMO ingredients used. So I got to call them and see what that is. Because, if it's the yeast or something benign like that, what are you going to do? I'm completely anti modern, GMO. And by that, I clearly mean the genetic tampering that happens on the Monsanto, the BioNTech level, the kind of thing. What you'll hear often from pro GMO people is they usually start with complete dishonesty, okay? And by that I mean they usually say, "Well, things have been hybridized for centuries. I mean, that's GMO." Completely disingenuous. I mean, yes, of course. You take a white rose and a red rose and you graft them and you get a pink rose, which is what was it? Mendel, is that the guy who did all the stuff with the peas and figured out um, started basically doing genomic biology, that branch of biology. He did Mendel, I think the guy's name was it? But sure, you take two types of peas or a white rose and a red rose, you graft them, you get that third thing, a pink rose. Yes, tiresome people, you are technically modifying the genes of that organism. But where it's completely dishonest, or a mule, right? These two almost identical animals mate, and then you get, but where they're being dishonest, and I'd like you all to ponder this and decide where you fall. Those are both roses. The white rose and the red rose are roses. Okay, tangelos and pluots and all these things. They take two stone fruits that are virtually identical in appearance and all kinds of descriptive terms, the type of tree and how they grow and the shape and the seed and everything, and they graft them and they get, humans have done this. That's not what Monsanto is doing. That's not what I'm forgetting some of the names of the other companies. There's really about 3 or 4 giant ones, and then lots of small ones. But it's dishonest. Stop it. It's dishonest to say it's just the same thing as spinach being hybridized in the 1800s. What modern biotech usually includes is cross species genetic shit. So you have strawberries that may have fish genes in them. You've got grains that have other animal genes in them. They've experimented with human genes just to see what happens if you put them in different things. There's rice that has animal genetic material. And then there's stuff on the lower level like yeasts where they genetically alter them to optimize them to make human foods, wines and breads and cheeses and beers and things like that. And then you've got things like golden rice, which you might be familiar with, where they take rice and they add vitamin A, beta carotene. I'm not sure what the source is on some of the things like golden rice, but I encourage people to read about this stuff. Some of it's just on the edge of benign. Some of it raises very important questions. If you can give starving children in India or in various African and Asian countries, if you can give these children rice that's going to help prevent blindness, that's a tough one, right? I mean, who would be against that? So I think a lot of these things we should learn more, pay attention, don't shy away from it, and learn about it and go case by case. If something's saving great amounts of lives or turning things around, maybe the problem is the regulation, right? And making sure that these companies, don't do untoward things to these populations, Let me get my... Time for some good old agua. And I'm going to take some greens in a minute. That's part of today's show. We're going to talk about this green food. Wow, I love spirulina. So we're going to talk about that. But anyway, GMOs, learn about them. There's a few, some of you that are into natural foods, obviously a lot of you are that are here. It's been a long, 30 years as far as I'm concerned, because that's when I happened to coincidentally start my time in natural foods retail in 1989. And about a year or two later, maybe 3 years later, is when you started seeing some of this stuff about GMOs. They started being this kind of public thing, and soon became a debate. So I've seen kind of the whole thing, Neil deGrasse Tyson, who is cool in many ways, obviously influencing kids on the STEM stuff and getting kids into science and carrying on the amazing work of Carl Sagan and all that. He's great. The two areas, of course, that are problematic are the sexual harassment stuff, which it's really dark watching that get swept aside by the big networks because the guy puts a lot of eyeballs on on screens. It's troubling when anytime there's 3, 4 stories, it starts to really be like, all right, bro, this isn't he said, she said. So that's soured me on that guy. But before that, his comments on GMOs soured me because for such a savvy, science-based, smart guy, there's a clip somewhere and they ask him, "What do you think?" And he goes, it's 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 fine. Humans have always hybridized things like spinach and broccoli. You know, if you had broccoli from 300 years ago, it would be bitter. You wouldn't like it. So humans have always GMOs. Oh, it's fine. Wow, dude, you really did that? He did. He conflated what farmers did centuries ago. And again, I want you all to think about this. There's a big difference taking 2 varieties of apples and grafting, right? You know, the technique of grafting. Brilliant. Humans came up with that because it's so obvious. Like, hey, let's get part of this tree and cut and stick it into the other tree. But that kind of thing, or mixing types of garlic, so you have another one, or types of hot peppers, or saving the seeds of the hottest ones and then breeding. Humans have manipulated the genetics of plants for and animals for centuries. But you're being a disingenuous person if you're going to equate that with Monsanto. I know I keep saying their name. There's other ones. BioNTech is another one. They did one of these vaccines. There's a handful of these companies. You're being disingenuous, folks. And I'm bringing this up because I want people to do their homework, do your research, read about GMOs, and understand that difference between a pluot and or a tangelo or a pink rose that is completely low technology. It's just having those two plants and doing a variety of proximity gene crossover. Big difference between that and high-tech CRISPR stuff. You familiar with CRISPR? CRISPR, and this gene clipping and gene mixing shit that's out there. Really? I think it's some Island of Dr. Moreau type shit, man. I want no part of it. And we're way down that road. I mean, that horse has so left the barn. GMOs are part of our reality, and we're going to keep seeing problems. And there are problems. There's many problems. There's all these problems are happening with commercial animals, you know, where that are genetically altered, that you can read about. We're not going to do the show on that today. Celine, well, you're very lucky. You've never had soup from a can. Wow, that's awesome. Well, it's different. There's some really great soups from a can, you know, and there's some horrible ones. But yeah, you know, it's whatever, part of human modernity, you know, like shoes and airplanes, soup in a can. But obviously, I prefer making it from scratch. I make a lot of soup. I should have done some pictures. I made a really great, I call it the refrigerator day soup. When you look at the fridge and go, all right, you need to go. You need to go. And so you don't use anything that's bad, but you'd kind of look around and say, all right, that celery, it's this week or not, bro. Like, you know, what's this? Oh, marinated mushrooms. What do we got here? Oh, 2 or 3 hot peppers. What's that? Oh, some pickled garlic. Throw it in there. You just kind of, you know, draw the inventory down. So I made this kind of coconut Thai soup. Wow, it was delicious. Spicy. Mushrooms and collards and all kinds of fun stuff. So yeah, making soup from scratch. Absolutely. That's the best. But in a pinch, sometimes I look at the watch and I'm like, fuck, I got to be on the air in 29 minutes. So you know, that's where so I'm going to be a cheerleader for Progresso because they have, oh man, half a dozen vegetarian soups and 3 or 4 vegan soups. Their tomato soup, their lentil soup. What I like about Progresso is basic ingredients. It's actually what I would use to make lentil soup when I do. Lentils, garlic, salt, a little cayenne. What else do they have in there? Maybe a dash of vinegar and some carrots and celery. So good stuff. But of course, Celine, making it yourself. I applaud you. Please keep learning vegetarian soups. Sumitra, my dear friend, how are you? You're right. Refrigerator day soups are the best. You know it well. You know it well. What's this in the freezer? Oh, half a little bag of frozen peas. Psh, throw it in there. What's this? Oh, that didn't make it. Compost. I don't even know what that was. What's this? Oh, some carrots. Oh, baby carrots. They're nice. Yeah. Good stuff. Tomato basil soup. That's another one. Yeah. So that's good. Scott Fisher. Yeah. Well, thanks, bro. It's glow in the dark too. Let's see. Can we get a little glowing? Let's see if that works. There might not have been enough light. Yeah, look, you can get a little glow there. A little R crumb kind of crossover. Um, well, thank you. And hats off to David Allen, who coming up on the show, I'm going to talk about spirulina. But I had a conversation with David Allen once about spirulina, and we gave him some. The next time we came, we brought him a bottle of Ginseng Plus, which is ginseng and spirulina, because he was into that stuff. I think he was vegetarian for a chunk of time, but definitely kind of a natural foods, health food guy, which you could tell. I mean, he's on that next level kind of artistic world traveling hippie thing. But got to hang out with David a couple times. A couple times at the Knitting Factory in New York, but also when we were on the same bill in Zapanale, which is streaming right now. That was great because got to sit across the table with him, have a meal, just talk about Gong and stuff. So rest in peace, David Allen. But good catch, Scott. One of my favorite bands. Love to you both too, Sumi. Good to see you. And awesome. So let's go back to some food. The other thing I had for lunch. Let's go to YouTube. Anyone? Anthony says pasta last night. Okay. That's awesome. So let's go to I've got some more food to share with you. Let's see. Let's find it. So we saw the raw greens, which, by the way, raw greens, that's your first way to eat them, right? Chop them up, put them in a salad. I put raw kale in a salad all the time. And I know I said something about spring mix here. Spring mix is great. It's awesome. Now, sometimes people say, oh, I had my greens, and they had a fucking salad. No, that's not greens. It is green food, and you should eat it. Lettuce is awesome. Even iceberg lettuce. Don't hate on iceberg. Don't. I mean, if that's all they have at a salad bar, I load up on iceberg lettuce, plus the carrots and the shredded zucchini and the red onions and the blah 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 and the olives. But yeah, nothing wrong with iceberg, because I love how people that eat the most horrible shit suddenly become nutritionists when there's iceberg lettuce. Oh, there's nothing in that, Really, bro. Enjoy that cheeseburger, Diet Coke, and French fries. Really? Don't you do you. But iceberg, yes, it's I'm not gonna say it's a powerhouse of vitamins and minerals, but you're at least getting your fiber, and that's important. Don't hate the fiber. Don't diss the fiber. Wow, so important. And most Americans are incredibly deficient in fiber. Your gut health depends on a bunch of stuff. Depends on what you're doing with your pH. Depends on allergens that you're ingesting, like dairy and processed grains and corn syrup and processed sugar and artificial flavors and colors. All of this impacts your gut health. Acid forming foods, animal protein, excessive animal protein, okay? Because of course people can thrive on a certain amount of animal protein. But most people hear that list, but fiber. Those microorganisms, millions in your gut, right? Countless species. I'm serious, countless. Because if you look it up, they're still figuring out different species in our gut. Gut health is one of the cutting edge areas of human biology research, actually. Go look this up. You'll see there's new info, even in the last year, the last 6 months. Fascinating info about how important to our mental health digestion is. The pH of your entire alimentary, tube from your saliva and your mouth health and your teeth health to your throat and your immunity and your whole respiratory system, and then into esophageal health and right into your stomach and your stomach lining and the digestion and the fact that we have epidemic, a word that's on our minds every day, but so maybe I won't use that word, but where we have catastrophic, how about that, catastrophic usage, especially by America, which is where my concern is because I live here, but catastrophic usage of antacids, right? We've talked on this show I've been here almost a year doing this, always talking about this, digestion. Where's your fermented food? Why are you on Zantac, Nexium, Tums, Pepsid AC? Why? What the fuck? Get off that stuff. Go look it up. Side effects out the wazoo. And you don't need to be eating it. So fiber, super important because insoluble fiber, your gut bacteria needs that. It uses it. And there's things like inulin and all these other components of vegetables that are super important. So eat that salad and no problem. And if you like iceberg lettuce, then keep liking it. Maybe mix it up though. If you like iceberg, put iceberg and put some spinach or spring mix. If these things are too bitter or strange for you, start with spinach. Right? Spinach is great. I said something in the comments again about that it's not a dark leafy green. It's not technically, and it's not a superfood like kale and things like that are. But it's great. Nothing wrong. If you like spinach, eat more spinach. But know that you really want to round it out. And that human biology is looking for that dark leafy green energy. We really are. And there's much smarter people than me that have written a lot about this. Those deep, dark green foods, folks. So important. So important. Wow. The list of things that's in all the things I'm talking about today is incredible. Besides chlorophyll, you got a lot of vitamins, vitamin K and iodine and minerals and vitamin C. The protein. There's protein in kale, dandelion, purslane, all those foods. So just a couple grams in a cup, but if it's part of your day, it adds up. Okay, so let's go to this. This is fun. Let me see if I got these pictures right. One. Yeah, okay. So, lunch today. Here's what I had. So you saw the greens. You saw the raw greens. Got them from someone in the neighborhood. I steamed those greens, and here is some of the results. This was lunch today. What do we have? That was a good lunch. So the main star on the plate is greens. And you could see it's a mix there. There's a little kale trying to escape. There's chard. 2 or 3 types of kale. Oh, it was so good. And then on the left, just some baked tofu. I forget what brand it is, but that's always a staple around here if you're in a hurry. That's a wonderful and easy to find thing, folks. Any supermarket now. I've found that in supermarkets across America when I'm on tour. but just baked, seasoned tofu. It's great because on the run, it's cooked already. It's a great dose of protein, simple, and if you got the time, you can repurpose it, put it on some salad, eat it with some salsa or some, you know, some mustard or something. Make a sandwich. I mean, so baked tofu. If you haven't kind of tried to put that into your shopping list, is really great stuff. I eat it, not that often actually. Once or twice a month. But it's a great thing in a pinch, in a hurry. I don't actually eat that much tofu. Much more tempeh, as you've heard me say. But tofu's great. Then I got some nice hot Thai peppers. There's an Asian place nearby. We get those. On the right side, we've got some pickled beets, fresh, raw, high enzymatic pickled beets. Man, I love this company. It's called Wild Brine. Sure, I could make that myself. I could shred up the beets. I can put them in some apple cider vinegar. And in the winter I do stuff like that. But I'm okay buying it. When you sit there torturing yourself over, the nightmare we're in with packaging and all these things, you do what you can and just keep trying to reduce and use reusable stuff, glass containers when you can, and you recycle. But I'm going to get these nutrients and I'm going to try to make things from scratch as much as I can, which everything you see there except the tofu and the pickles is just fresh and from scratch. The corn, okay, that's last week's corn, so it was delicious actually, but you can see it's drying out a little bit, but that's okay. I'm not going to waste food. It was really nice. It was, I love raw corn, but I also steam it. I was going to put some tamari and tahini on those greens, which is one of my suggestions, but I grabbed a piece right before I took this shot and I said, delicious on its own. I just sprinkled a little bit of sea salt and sesame seeds. I didn't put any sauce or salad dressing or tahini, which is one of my go-tos. And I said, you know what? So that's the next picture, I think. That's the same one. By the way, there's some patty pan squash in the distance, some apples. That's how we roll. We've got these fresh veggies coming in every week. Okay, that's when I dressed it up with some black sesame seeds and some sea salt. Still life with vegetables. So there you have it. That was my lunch. Spot on. Fucking delicious. All right. Let's go back to your comments. Oh, no sound? Is that? Let me know if you have sound, folks, because Laura says no sound. Oh, okay. Yeah, let me know. Test 1 2 check 1 2. Do you hear me, folks? All right. Oh, I see. I got it. To Laura, you got it. You're not geeking up, okay? Or whether that's a typo. I'm talking about protein and fiber. Thank you, Celine. Ann Everett, good to see you. And Ann says excessive garden vegetable soup this time of year. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, it's that time of year, right? Tomatoes, zucchini. Once they start going, shit, it gets crazy, right? Um. Let's see here. Is that the one with the? Yeah. Okay. Um. Ryan, how are you, my friend? Ryan Walsh is here. We were just talking about you, Ryan. Us being a couple of the Josneys. Good to see you. What did you have for lunch, Cheryl? Ryan, what did you have for lunch? We're talking about greens today. Okay, so I'm gonna go now to part 2, which is, let's see if anyone's commenting on YouTube. Okay, good. We're gonna go to YouTube and we're gonna look at another green, an incredible green, one of my favorites. Again, I love them all. Wow, dandelion greens. That's what's funny. Most people think of dandelion as a weed, and really anything's the weed if it's not what you're growing, right? But dandelions, the and what an interesting name, tooth of the lion, right? Dandelion. It's kind of, if you look at the Latin etymology of it, but it looks like a big fang, right? The shape, the sharp edges of the leaves. So folks, if the shit hits the fan and it all breaks down, I will be going out to the highway and harvesting dandelion greens at a safe distance, of course, from the exhaust fumes and the dog piss and all that. But one of the greatest foods on earth is dandelion greens. So healthy for you. I love them. So bitter and you know, so chock full of different vitamins. Um, let's take a look here at a picture. Bum, 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 bum. What the, that's funny. What the heck do I do with dandelion greens? That's pretty cool. Uh, so we'll just look at that so you all know what I'm talking about. Um, I didn't have dandelions in my wonderful steamed veggies that I just showed you, but it's time to go get some. So I'll put this article in the chat. It's Smithsonian Magazine. What the heck do I do with dandelion greens? And weedy pests that should be on your next dinner plate. Yes. So they have this with, looks like some shaved Parmesan and is that maybe some garlic? Delicious though, braised. You can see some pepper flakes and stuff. So simple, right? 3-4 ingredients, folks. Quick braising gets these dandelion greens. It just brings out a certain flavor. They're fine raw. I love dandelion greens raw. They're fine in a juice, right? Put them in a shake, you know. Some of you that might not like the texture of greens, the flavor of greens, put them in your shake. If you make shakes, aka smoothies, throw some kale in there, throw some dandelion greens. So anyway, that's funny. The FDA continues to treat dandelion as a weed. The agency's official position is there's no convincing reason for believing it possesses any therapeutic virtues. Wow. I mean, I'm always generally suspect of the fucking FDA, but that's a low point. No convincing reason for believing it possesses. Okay. There goes any respect for the FDA. Well, this article at least points out some of the other facts because it is considered an herb. For centuries, it's been used in herbal medicines around the world. But there it is, folks. Iron, calcium, vitamins A, C, K, B2, other vitamins and minerals. More protein and iron than spinach. In old times, dandelion greens were used as a diuretic. Wow, okay, and you can see some fun stuff about the diuretic aspect. So there it is. If you just picked it, and you probably have this growing in your yard, and you probably pull your hair out, poisoning it and putting different things on it. Well, if you have an organic yard and you see some dandelion, try it out. Get the tallest, most mature leaves and just put them in your salad. So this is a great article. I'll put it in the chat, and I think it's got some cool ideas: braising it, sautéing it, having it raw, a nice citrusy vinaigrette. Have it with eggs, yeah, in an omelet or something. There's a recipe here for dandelion greens and pepper omelet. Make a pesto, right? Pesto is really amazing and one of my favorite things, and one of my things I've made 6 different ways. Usually with basil, but often, yeah, I've put some dandelion in there. I've put parsley and other little green things in there. I've made pesto with pumpkin seeds, with pine nuts, with different vegan cheeses and things, uh, sesame seeds. Anyway, they give a couple good recipes there, and that's cool. Dandelion greens. So all right, let me share that. So we're talking about greens today, folks. Greens, greens, greens. I realized thinking about topics, I was like, well, how about something you eat all the time? Uh, so okay, there we go. There's an article. Benny, tra! What's up, bro? Denny, Benny is here, and we can start the party. Celine, you never had dandelion. Wow. You picked the flower parts as a kid, but never thought of eating it. Yeah. Well, check that article I just put, please, Celine. It talks about the nutritional value and also the I'm just answering a question here on my volume. Folks, let's give me a survey here on my volume, please, because some people are saying it's fine, some people need more, so I can turn up. Um, I don't know what's maybe move the mic closer a little bit. Hey, okay, I'm peaking on the reverb when I yell, so I'm right at 0 dB. So sorry, folks. I wish I could. Nothing's different, but yet there must be that I don't. Maybe it's a bad cable. Yeah, that could be it. Let's see. All right. Let me know if that's any better, please. Frank and anyone else. Ryan says, Danielle and I haven't had dandelion, but I really want to. Cannabis sounds like dandelion is yes. That's awesome. I'm glad you got to see her or talk to her. So good. Ah. And they're bitter. That's the other thing too. We don't celebrate the bitter part of our taste, part of our tongue in American cuisine especially. But you go around the world, bitter food is crucial. Many cultures, they actually make like an herbal tincture. They make a drink and they make an extract and they call it bitters. That's how important bitter food is everywhere else I've been. The Japanese eat a lot of bitter food. The Germans and Hungarians, Romanians, I've been to all those places. There's always some wonderfully bitter kind of, root vegetables or greens. The Russians eat a lot of bitter foods. Irish people, Scottish people eat a lot of bitter foods. Nigerians eat a lot of bitter foods. People from Niger and Zimbabwe and Zaire, all these African countries, you always find these herbs and these spices that are bitter. Indian cultures, wow, which there are many throughout India, different versions of things. Bitter, 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 right? Some of these roots, Chinese food, bitter, folks. If you've never thought about bitter and you're having digestive issues, you might want to look at that. Most people encounter bitters when they have a mixed drink, right? With the Angostura bitters, right, from Trinidad. But oops, running over a cable here. You need to I'm not gonna tell you what to do, but if you're here, we're here to talk about food, and I urge you learn about bitter, 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 because we eat a lot of sweet food. Some people don't eat anything sour. That's another important food. That fermented taste, that lemon, citrusy sourness is important. Your body is going to respond enzymatically and with digestive. You're optimizing digestion if you have some bitter food, right? So think about that and say, do I eat anything that's bitter ever? Yeah, wait a minute. I eat salty food, sweet food, sour food. It's one of your tastes, and part of the umami, what they call like the X factor. Part of that profile is a sour, fermented, bitter, kind of glutamate rich, like mushroom broths and tamari and things like that are umami. Um, uh, if you eat fish, fish broths, and which are usually fermented. Um, a lot of great types of foods that I'm deciding to focus on the past couple of times because we all need to optimize our immune systems in this time we're in. We all need to optimize our digestion in this time we're in. And these are some things that I think I don't see talked about enough. Cheryl, dandelion greens wilted with garlic, red pepper flakes, olive oil, and salt. Oh, show's over. I got to go make that. That's one of my favorite things, especially the red pepper flakes. Oh, come on. And you said it, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 ingredients. Come on, people. 10 minutes. Learn how to make a couple of these simple things. Then you have some staples for when you're hurrying, and greens fill that nicely. Celine says, if only the FDA could say marijuana has benefits. Yeah, well, we're slowly getting there. We're slowly getting there. Eating marijuana. Eating gummies. Bitter melon. That's another one. Thank you. The Jamaica. Wow. In Jamaica, that bitter melon. So important. And many cultures. So it's an interesting thing about America because we have this melting pot. We have this story of, the people who were here, the native folks, who I think they figured out came across the land bridge, where it used to be, where Sarah Palin could see Russia. She wasn't completely wrong. It is right over there, and there was, but millennia ago. So the folks that were here did a lot of plant-based learning that we still use. Wow, are you kidding me? Native herbal knowledge. My head explodes. I'm going to have a guest on here, actually, who's an herbalist, and we're going to talk about this. I know a little bit about it. My late partner was an herbalist. But I mean, things like golden seal, golden root, echinacea, just the more popular ones that came out of native plant-based culture. And then, what did they call them? The three sisters, is that what it was? The corn and different squashes and beans. So plants and plant-based was central to this rich amount of cultures. And some native people in what we call the Americas were heavily meat-based. Some were more fish-based. Some were more fowl-based. Some were heavily vegetarian-based, actually. Hundreds of tribes, just like any other continent. Continent of Africa, continent of Asia, continent of Europe. They're not all the same. We tend to lump them together and call them Indians when it wasn't India. Let's learn their names, right? Iroquois, Cree, Cherokee, right? So many different amazing tribes. But if it's something you're interested in and you start looking up their knowledge of plants and herbs, wow, a whole pharmacopoeia that's right under our nose, and we're not integrating that as American knowledge. It seems, it's weird. But America's story, where you have that at the basis, and then Europeans came, going way back, many of them leaving for religious reasons, whatever. But what I'm interested in is when they cut the ties with all of these key parts of a good diet. The pickled food, the natural sources of bitterness and sourness and fermentation, and supporting your immune system and supporting digestion. That is part of German culture and Irish and Scottish and English culture. Okay, maybe not so much English, but most of these other countries, the pickles and fermentation, they have it. And when you go, for instance, to the Amish or the Pennsylvania Deutsch, it's actually German, not Dutch. When you go to these German people in Pennsylvania, or you go to Polish people in Brooklyn, right? Jewish people from Eastern Europe in Brooklyn and in whatever city, Boston, Chicago, Polish people in Chicago. You go to these European cultures, Irish people, anyone from Europe, you'll find, oh, wow, there's a bunch of foods that are from the old school, right? If you find the right kind of a shop, right? Italian people, wow, you go to a real Italian shop in Manhattan or in Providence, Rhode Island, which has amazing Italian stores and culture and food. You go to the old people and, oh wow, look at this. I've never, yes, pickled things, pickled foods, bitter foods, dark greens. So something happened generationally where a lot of the next generation threw that shit away, and then everyone has digestion problems now. So it's weird. Then you have the next wave of kind of cultural construction of the United States, which of course is the enslaved folks that were then brought here against their will, starting in 1619. Hence the 1619 Project. Um, and once again, this diaspora of African people from all around the continent. Actually, if you study enslavement, it's a couple tight areas actually, but let's just say, uh, without doing a whole treatise on how Europe underdeveloped Africa, which is the name of a book by Walter Rodney, we can just jump right to the fact that the enslaved people brought their ideas, and probably someone, you know, just found stuff that was here, and oh, that's similar to what we know. And as time went on, actual crops did come over from Africa, seeds came over, things like that. But but the African people had some of these things: dried foods, fermented foods, eating bitter foods, eating the greens, eating the root vegetables. So that's in the culture too. And in Southern black culture, you have a lot of that that exists, especially the older people. But again, there's a, you get these next generations that aren't eating these ancestral foods. Finally, the other kind of thread, the other two threads in this country are people coming from Asia, people coming from Central and South America, into America, and again, varying histories there. You know, when you study how it was for the Chinese people, are you serious? Wasn't that long ago? This place is fucked up. Chinese exclusion laws and all that. But these folks persevered, they prevailed, and what am I talking about? Food. They brought their food. They brought their food. And it's one of the things, actually, when you study the history of the Chinese, wow, it got them off the hook because there was these laws stopping Chinese from immigrating. But there was a clause saying, except if you are um, starting a retail situation or a restaurant, right? There was some clauses in those exclusionary laws, and guess what happened? Chinese people said, "Guess what we're doing?" And you know, this is, just saw a documentary about this. It's fascinating. That's why everywhere in America you have this sometimes 100-year Chinese merchant situations, and that's why you have Chinese food, Chinese restaurants everywhere in America. Because at a certain point, you're going to get your ass deported if you were not in one of those two businesses. Very interesting. So for better or worse, we end up where we are. My point here, as I talk about digestion and immune systems and foods that we need to bring back, the Chinese people, okay, and as time went on, the Korean people, the Vietnamese people, the Japanese people. Some overlap. They're all different cultures, different people, but the overlap is all those countries who did a lot of cross pollinating culturally and you know, philosophically. They all have pickled food, bitter food, dark green food in their picture, in their, you know, to this day, right? I talk on this show all the time about kimchi. I talk on the show all the time about pickled Chinese vegetables. I talk all the time about umeboshi plums from Japan. We gotta, you know, those of you with digestive issues, if you don't have a bottle of umeboshi plums in your fridge, please find out about that. Go get some. Umeboshi plums, delicious. Well, I would say very salty, very intense, but delicious as a component of a sauce or a salad dressing, or you know, a nori roll or something like that. But I use umeboshi plum vinegar all the time, and it's great. I have great digestion, and you know, um, it just, it's part of that picture. Bitter pickles, greens. Let's get them back. So again, all these cultures came, and then finally, as I said, people from, is it called Mesoamerica, South America, Central America, people of Aztec, Mayan, Taino, Arawak descent that we call now, again, colonialism. We call El Salvadorans and Mexicans and Costa Ricans and Panamanians and Puerto Ricans and, you know, all these other amazing countries. They brought their story, right, into America, right? And so you have all these people in the world. And I'm just making the point that you look at the first couple generations and the food had all this stuff that I'm talking about, had all this plant-based amazingness. But then something happens. Once the next generation happens, it seems that there's a, like, well, that's what my peasant grandmother ate. I'm successful now with a shiny car, and then not eating that. We're eating American food now. So then it's hot dogs and burgers and steaks and pot roasts and blah, all the endless pastries and the kind of watered down Italian food, watered down Chinese food, watered down Indian food. And so you get this weird mix of what happened to the greens? Your grandmother. What happened? What happened? What happened to the pickled foods? I get it. There's a psychological thing of, yeah, but that was the old school. We are Americans now. And so it's a thing that pretty much every culture grapples with. And I'm fascinated with this story. But we can, eat some of your grandmother's recipes is the message there. Let's go back to comments. Kathy Shepard, how are you, my friend? So Italian. Yes. Well, there we go. Just talking about Italian, amazing Italian food. So Italian, you're talking about the dandelion greens, right? So good, right? Kathy, I know you're cooking the old school recipes you talk about all the time, and you often go to Italy, so you know what I'm talking about. I mean, when you're in Italy, when you're in Sicily, when you're in Rome, when you're in, Genoa, anywhere in Italy, every place is different, right? With these amazing different types of spicing and types of recipe and types of pasta or not pasta. Maybe it's risotto. Beautiful country with, one of the more interesting cuisines of the world because the Roman Empire went out and, it's a yin yang. We could talk about empires being fucked up, but it was thousands of years ago. But what's interesting is the beautiful thing that came back from that. Because of that, and because of various invasions of Italy, right? The Phoenicians and who was it? Hannibal and, North Africans invaded and Spanish and English and, there's a lot of influx to Italy. And Turks, I think, came through a little bit. But in either direction, whether Rome went there or it came to Rome, what's beautiful about Italian food is it's got its own thing. Wow, the incredible high mineral, volcanic soil, vegetables, and, fruits. Nothing like an Italian lemon. Nothing. Nothing like an orange. Are you kidding me? Can't taste it anywhere else. Italy. The tomatoes, please. I think it's the volcanic soil. That's what I've read. That's what I've understood. So they have their own thing going on, and this rich cuisine, and of course the olives, the grapes, the things you typically know about, but also all the different vegetables. When you're in Italy and you get to a market, asparagus, artichoke, 10 types of tomatoes, 10 types of that, squash, all those greens. What's that? I don't know. But, so they have all this, but then they also soaked up the cultures I just talked about, right? Because they went all the way to Hadrian's Wall in Scotland. They picked up different foods and types of fishes and types of things in the British Isles. Then they went that way to Turkey, and they were there for a while. So they brought in some of the herbs and spices, and they were right there on the spice trade route. So Italy's really amazing for cuisine because it's there's a local thing, and then there's the idea that for thousands of years They synthesized all this amazing stuff. Again, figure out what your grandmother ate. Maybe some good ideas there. Bitter melon, wild. Okay, that's great. Yes, we need to start foraging in the States more. I agree. Foraging is good. A friend of mine has, she's a yoga teacher, and she does these herb walks with an herbalist. And they go, it's out in LA, but they go and they teach people how to identify different greens, look for edible foods and stuff, and do some yoga. So, pretty cool. Okay, let's see if there's any comments on your on YouTube. Okay, good. Okay, I'm gonna bring this in for a landing. I've got one more area to talk about. All greens, and I shared my lunch, dark greens, and you know what? Some people tuned in since then. I'll show this again. Here's what I had today. I got some greens from somebody in the neighborhood. I was driving by, said something about his amazing front garden, which we see all the time and admire. This front yard, there's 6 types of kale, chard, dandelion, amazing. And I said something. The guy's like, "You want some?" And steamed it up, and here was my lunch. Delicious. What you're looking at is chard, 2 types of kale. I can't remember if there's some collards in there, but I made collards the other day. You're looking at pickled raw beets. Delicious, crunchy, fresh, high enzymatic pickled beets. So good for you. And delicious. Yeah, nicely spiced. Some hot peppers. I'm a hot pepper fanatic. Those are some pickled. Actually, they were fresh. They're just frozen from a Asian place. Thai chilies, and then some baked tofu and a little raw corn. Everything organic. Maybe the peppers weren't organic, but everything organic in that picture. Otherwise, the patty pan squash, all that. And here's the same dish, but I spiced it up with some sesame seeds and some sea salt. Really good lunch. Now, what's in there? Because we're always looking at the nutritional profile of vegetarian food, which for some reason people still have issues with. But I got some protein right there. I've got protein from 3 sources, really. A little bit in the corn, definitely the tofu, and then the kale and chard. There's protein in greens. I've got vitamin C in the peppers and the greens, and the beets, I believe, have vitamin C. I've got vitamin K and iron. I've got minerals. I've got, you can't name a mineral really that's not in some level in the beets and in the greens. You've got some good carbs in the corn, right? You've got a little tiny bit of fat from the soybeans, from the tofu, good fats, a little tiny bit of fat in the corn. Superb. It's all there. And of course, everything is fiber. I can't believe people have to take fiber like Metamucil, and I just I can't wrap my mind around that. How would you need to take fiber? Well, I get it. I guess this is kind of a weird plate of food to some people, but hey, courses for horses, right? So, okay, I'm going to wrap up with a couple little things. And, and I wanted to share with you, and I'm going to take first a couple of things I'm going to finish up with. Some greens. We're going to look at some greens from Jamaica in a minute. Here's something, folks, I want to make sure you know about. You can use it as a shaker. I'm in the fish parking lot. Burritos, bro. Burritos, $5, bro. Yeah. But spirulina, what is spirulina? It's a blue-green algae. We've talked about it before. I could spend an hour on it, but I won't. Look it up if you don't know about it. Ancient food, actually. We know that Mayans, Aztecs, various places in Africa where it just grew on ponds, on lakes of water. One might call it pond scum because you scooped it up and dried it. And in Central America, we know they would take that and mix it with cacao and mix it with different things and make different drinks. So it goes way back and on several continents. So it's an amazing thing that it's one of those straight lines back to ancient human nutrition. It's a blue-green algae. It's always controversial to say this, but I say it without reservation. Well, I'll go ahead and say, because the word perfect is difficult. Uh, there are generally three foods that are considered as close to perfect as can be. What does that mean? They have a full spectrum of nutrients. Fat soluble vitamins, A, D, E, K, a complement of B vitamins, uh, 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 you know, omega fatty acids in a good profile, right? More of the omega 3s and 9s than the 6s that we overeat in the Western diet, especially the American diet. Minerals, calcium, iron, right? Phosphorus, all these minerals that we need. So a perfect food tends to have a spectrum of all that stuff. What are some perfect foods? Mother's milk. Yeah. The milk of a mammal is a perfect food. Think about it. It's got to take a tiny baby, fox or bear or rat or dog or cow or human or chimpanzee, and it's going to grow that organism up. That organism that may not have teeth yet, that can't hunt or search or gather or forage for themselves, it needs nutrients on a daily basis. Milk. Milk is a perfect food. Yeah, I'm a vegan saying milk's a perfect food. But I'm going to finish the sentence and say, for the species that is producing the milk. That's it. It's not much more complex than that. So bears, the perfect food for a baby bear. Wow, who would have guessed? Bear milk. Perfect food for a rat is rat milk. Babies, I'm talking about. Perfect food for a human. Wow, shocker. Who would have guessed? Human milk. A dog, a chimp, a baboon, a horse. It's pretty simple. So milk is a perfect food. It's fucking amazing. The next perfect food is an egg. Again, a vegan saying eggs. Yes, they are. They're fucking perfect. Eggs are wonderful. But an egg's going to grow into a whole animal. It's pretty badass. This little thing you could put in your pocket. So birds, one of the more ancient species, of course, anyone here knows there's that line from dinosaurs and there's many interesting birds that are no longer with us, probably more that are extinct than exist. But eggs are remarkable because that's going to be an entire being. So again, if you choose to eat eggs, hey, I applaud that. Because I respect choice. Only thing I would say is please get local eggs, organic eggs, eggs that are not drugged, eggs from someone in your neighborhood if you can, eggs from a farm market. Try to get the best eggs. They're much tastier, much better for you, and much better for the environment, especially if you're getting them nearby. Which is very common. A lot of people have chickens now in a lot of parts of America. So, but an egg's a perfect food. Again, just like mother's milk, you got omega-3, 6, 9 in a perfect balance. You've got all these things, the various amino acids. You've got the fat-soluble vitamins, the minerals, the spectrum of stuff, protein, and all the above. The third one in that amazing top-level gold medal type of food, like an egg and like milk of the same species. This right here, folks, spirulina. I kid you not. A wonder food, an incredible food. Same kind of stuff. You can make a chart actually of eggs, milk, spirulina, and it will check off just about every box on every one. There'll be a couple little exceptions, but go look this up. And one of these shows, I'm just going to do spirulina, and I'll put these charts and I'll share nutritional info with you. And I actually have a nutritionist coming on in about 3 weeks, and I'm going to ask her about spirulina and blue-green algae and Klamath blue-green and chlorella and all these wonderful foods that you're seeing pop up. But if you were to make a chart and it just said, you know, milk of the correct species, eggs, and spirulina, and you kind of went down and you checked off the boxes, I'm serious, they'd be almost identical. Just a couple different things that each has that the others doesn't. But all three of them, including spirulina here, which I love and which is a staple of mine for, over 30 years. Omega fatty acids, B vitamins, protein, amino acids, minerals, iron, fat soluble vitamins. I can just read the side of it. Vitamin A is one of the big ones. Yeah, 32% of the day's amount in 6 tablets, which I'm about to take. Iron, 6% of your iron. Low in sodium, 2% of your sodium, but you need sodium. We run from sodium. Sodium's an important thing. We just have too much of it, and we have too little potassium in the American diet. But sodium's great. And then it goes on. There's other things that I'm not even talking about. The chlorophyll and the green parts of spirulina are very important. What's this called? Phycoyanin. I can't even say that right. But there's 100 things you could go and study that are in here. GLA, right? Gamma-linoleic acid, which you're also going to find in things like eggs and human milk and dog milk and cow milk. But each species is optimized for its own milk. Can't say that enough. There's 21 milligrams of chlorophyll in this serving, and so on. So good stuff if you're looking for a little more energy, a little more natural way to get some vitamins, to get some minerals. Look into spirulina. It's nice to, with the help of your health practitioner, figure out if you need a vitamin or a mineral supplement. But if you're looking for a great and healthy and whole foods way to get some calcium, some protein, some fat soluble vitamins, some essential fats, consider spirulina in your picture. Anything you've seen in these health food stores or natural food stores that's green, it's usually spirulina in there. The naked juices, right? Those juices that you buy in any, now you get them anywhere, right? Truck stops. Naked juice. There's another brand, I forget. But anytime it's green, GT kombucha and any of those things. Kombucha, when it's green, it's spirulina that's in there. So you do see it in a lot of foods. The spirulina bars, there's blah blah blah. It's all over the place. Yeah, in a trail bar, are you getting much of a serving? You need to look that up. The greener it is, the more you're getting. Sure, like anything else, there's a marketing thing where some people put a little bit of spirulina into a drink and make it $5. But that's on us to kind of parse and sort out what's bullshit and what's not. But incredible food, and also used as a food coloring. It's a natural way to put green. So you have like I've seen like these natural M&Ms, these natural candies, right? When some of them are green, that's what they use, spirulina, right? There's some other things you use, parsley juice sometimes, but spirulina can be used as a food coloring. And there's one more thing I had one more place I remember seeing spirulina. Okay, so bars, drinks, different things. You just see it around. Also, NASA and the astronauts, they've looked at spirulina as a food source in space. Why? Because it just needs water and light, like any plants actually. And they've been looking at growing sprouts and different things like that in space. They've done that. But let's see. I just pulled it up. I'll give you the link. Spirulina, or Arthrospira, is a blue-green algae that became famous after it was successfully used by NASA as a dietary supplement for astronauts on space missions. It has the ability to modulate immune functions and exhibits anti-inflammatory properties by inhibiting the release of histamine by mast cells. Folks, NASA, okay, who doesn't have time to fuck around. It's a superfood, and I love that they have picked up on it. Spirulina actually also grows in saltwater and freshwater, which is quite remarkable if you think about it. So yeah, if you look that up, um, let's see, NASA.gov. Here we go. We'll go right there. NASA. Oh wow. Okay. Why NASA has recommended spirulina as excellent space food. Wow, I didn't know this. I haven't looked at the space connection in years, but I knew about it. I mean, because that was my profession, natural foods. Wow, this is 2017. It NASA's done a whole lot more studies than last time I checked. Um, Spirulina is a rich source of beta carotene, which helps improve eyesight and has a very high natural protein content. This protein has 18 of the 22 essential amino acids, and this nourishment digests easily. This ensures proper utilization as well as assimilation of food. Also, spirulina's rich content of natural iron and folic acid. I forgot that. I said B vitamins, but folic acid, folks, really important, vitamin to get. But both of those enhance the hemoglobin levels in the blood. Spirulina is far more absorbable than normal iron capsules. Amazing. So I'm going to put this article up because today is Greens Day. And we need to talk about this green that's not a leafy green, but an algae green, right? All right, let's put that in the. This is an article about NASA. And then finally, this is great. If you look it up, folks, on your own time, a lot of articles, very recent. This one's May 2021 about spirulina in space. For astronauts embarking on long-duration space missions, NASA found that spirulina is one of the most powerful concentrated foods. And it goes on to talk about doesn't take up much room, stores well, and you can regenerate it out in space. Holy shit, right? So, okay, I'm going to give you one more. What's this one? From Life Infused. I thought I saw an article from NASA, but oh yeah, there you go. NASA.gov. Doesn't get better source than that, right? So please, folks, if you're interested in this, do some research. Do your own research, which is what everyone says today. But this is from NASA.gov, not Joey's weird blog from Long Island. This is science-based. But this NASA article, actually, they're talking about chlorella, but same difference. They're talking about blue-green algae and micronutrients and but there's also some other articles talking about NASA and spirulina. So pretty cool. So give me your thoughts. Does anyone here use spirulina? Anyone here eat this? I'm going to take my spirulina right now. It's a little later than I usually do, but I usually take 6 or 7 of these. All right. Sometimes I get one that's 100% spirulina. I get another one that's spirulina with ginseng, nothing else. 2 ingredients. This does have some cellulose to hold it together, I guess. Microcrystalline cellulose. Yeah, cross carbamylose sodium starch. So it's got like some vegetable cornstarch to hold it together, and silicon dioxide. Yeah, all pretty benign stuff. But it's 99% just spirulina pressed together. or whatever, high 90s percentile, because there are brands that I buy that is just spirulina, and they just press it together under pressure. So this is what it looks like, if you can see that. Oh, runaway spirulina. So is that coming out in the camera? Yeah. I'm going to take it. Actually, I don't taste them, but it's got an okay taste. It's an acquired taste, kind of a kind of a weird taste, kind of a slimy, but they're not. It's not bad. There's a slight sweetness actually in good, high quality spirulina. Where's it grown? A lot of it in Hawaii. That's the big source of spirulina, but the American Northwest a bit. So, okay, cool. So the final chapter here today. Let's see. Okay. Did y'all see this? Before I go there, I'm going to detour. Um, did you see that Canada's opening their borders? I mean, again, I'm purposely not talking about this much because it'll take the whole show if I start talking about Delta and this the biological realities we're living under. Um, but yeah, Canada's going to open up, but I think they're opening up only to vaccinated people, which is awesome. And turnaround is fair play. In 1885, that's right, that's not a typo. 1885, if you were coming into the United States on a train, federal agents would get on the train soon after you crossed the border from Canada to the United States and go up the train, go up the aisle, and check for your vaccine status. 1885. Yeah, because smallpox was, a real problem then, as it was for hundreds of years. And we got vaccines starting in 1796. Edward Jenner, look him up, developed the idea of vaccination for cowpox, smallpox, figured it out, figured that, oh, wow, small amounts of dead viral material introduced to the human body will have you create immunity to that substance. Thereby, you're not going to get sick. Wow. Sounds like craziness. I bet the Rockefellers were involved in 1796. Wow. Holy shit. But anyway, the point there is that Canada is going to require vaccination, just like we did 136 years ago. But you're going to have a friend send you a video about George Soros or something. All right. But yeah, so Canada's opening the border. Delta's like, hold my beer. Oh boy. All right. So the closing act here is some more greens, some more food, and it's gonna be the delicious Jamaican green known as callaloo. So we're just gonna look at that. This is gonna be a mouth-watering, just a quick little video I found, and two things they're in it. Callaloo is like a spinach type of a green. I mean, that's the beautiful thing. You go around the world, and there's this type of plant that's just, very tender, very easy to eat raw, delicious with a little bit of heat, like steaming or braising or something. And humans around this planet, Polish people, Japanese people, Nigerian people, Uruguayan people, Irish people, Scottish people, Malaysian people, Indonesian people, okay, Filipinos, Australians, the Aborigines. You can't find a human being. Indians, Pakistanis, English, Norwegians. Okay? They found green things. They found bitter things. And they figured out how to use them. Okay? Mexican people. Fijians. I keep going. All around the world. Italians, Turks, Iraqis, every place you go. That's why I love Anthony Bourdain so much. I bring him up all the time. Love that guy. Rest in peace. There's this documentary coming out that talks about his life and his demise, and Asia Argento, and there's all this stuff, people in his life. But one of the things that's beautiful about that guy is how he showed what I'm talking about. He went around the world and showed, wow, we have these common things. And yeah, a lot of barbecue and meat, and he big, carnivore guy. But if you really watch the show and look for it and tune in, he's eating vegetarian food all the time because he eats everything. And so the side dishes, the starter dishes, whether he's in Lebanon or Venezuela or Brazil, or whether he's in Wales or Northern Ireland, wherever he is, if you look, the American South, when he gets those side dishes, right? Vietnam, Korea, it's usually vegetables, right? Little things, little beans and things from coconuts and plantains and little dumplings and dals and miso soups and wherever he is, Vietnam, he kind of always eats the appetizers, and I love checking out how many of them are vegetarian. When he was in Jamaica, that was cool because a lot of the food was Aital, the Rasta kind of aesthetic and diet, mainly vegetarian with some fish. That's the main Rasta thing, and some of them are completely animal free, just which we're going to see in a minute. So my point, again, as I close here, is greens, greens, greens. It's the glue of a lot of cultures, and I just hope we bring it back a bit more into the American diet. I'm not worried about most of these other diets I'm talking about. I go to these countries, bam, plate of greens. I say I'm vegetarian in Spain, in Japan, in Uruguay, bam, some green food arrives, something made with some vegetarian protein, like whether it's black beans or tempeh or some kind of wheat gluten sort of stuff, or tofu or tempeh. But there's always green stuff: bok choy, kale, spinach, dandelion greens, dill in Russia. Every meal there's dill, and you laugh and you go, dill, parsley. These are garnishes. Go look up how much stuff is in dill. Wow. The antimicrobial, antibiotic properties in things like mint and dill and parsley will blow your mind. Put these foods in your salad. I haven't even talked about some of those, the more herby greens. Parsley, just start eating it. Parsley's incredible. By weight, one of the highest proteins of all these greens. Just a couple grams, but it's not hard to get a cup of parsley into a soup or a meal or something a couple times a week. So, as they do in many of these countries, and they have great bone health and great, Oh, I'll say that before I hit the share. I'm happy, and I'm waiting to actually get it from my portal, and I'll share it with you all because I feel like this is just an open forum. But I got my annual checkup just recently. I actually skipped last year, but I'm so happy to say that other than needing to lose some weight, and my vitamin D is a little low, which most people are. Most of us did not go out into the sun enough. Most of us that live far away from the equator are not getting enough sunlight. But other than upping my D, and I also take a B supplement because B12 is tricky. There's debates on whether for vegetarians, for vegans, B12 is available in things like tempeh. They're possibly there because of the microorganism, the fermentation. There's possibly B12 in things, depends on the type, but in things like sauerkraut and things like that. Anywhere there's microorganisms, there's going to be B12. And then the B12 that's in spirulina is kind of a, if you remember your chemistry classes, it's a mirror image of the molecule of B12. So there's a lot of debate for decades. People debate, is it B12 that we absorb? Is it the same? Is it different? my stance is I'll eat some spirulina, I'll eat tempeh, and I'll just take a B supplement, which is very easy to get, vegan-based, vegetarian-based B vitamins and things like that, made from yeast and stuff, which is again a borderline organism. It's not an animal. It's not a plant. You know. Um, but the good news is my checkup came back great. My bone density is great. They ask me all the time. They're like, "Wow, whatever you're doing," and I love to tell them I don't drink dairy. I don't eat cheese. 35 years I've eaten some dairy over those 35 years. My attitude when I'm in Italy and the host arrives and it's mozzarella, it's buffalo mozzarella, and they are proud and they're treating whatever band I'm with and they're doing it, and it was made that week, and it's organic. It's from his brother's farm or her sister's. But yeah, I'll have a little piece. What's the fucking big deal? When I'm deep in France and I'm with Al Di Meola and we're playing at a castle or something, and these people bring the best wine you've ever had, and they've made all this vegetarian stuff for me, but they say we have this blue cheese. It's very fresh from. Sorry, I like bad accents, and I'll try it. I'm sure I'll have a little piece. It tastes like nothing you have at home because it's not right, shipped and packaged and all that, pasteurized. So I know what dairy tastes like. I've had dairy. A few years ago, I ate eggs for a few years, organic eggs. So I'm all in for these being healthy foods. If you're getting more plant based and you're like, yeah, but I want to have, as I say all the time, get the best then. Get the best organic eggs. Spend the money. People are so cheap. I've seen people say, oh my God, $6 for a dozen eggs. What the fuck? It's a dozen eggs. First of all, do the math. What is that? I don't know, 50 cents each? Don't be cheap. If it's $10, it's worth it. You'll pay $10 some places for an omelet, right? But spend the money, get the best cheese, get the best eggs if you're gonna eat that stuff. Let me just look here. Organic eggs, $4.98 for a dozen at Walmart, $5.69 at Target, $7.75 at Publix. You got the idea. I was just about right. $6, I said. I didn't know. $4.49. Nellie's free range, free range. $4.49. But you got people who are gonna go, yeah, but they're only $2.69 for the regular ones. That's expensive. If you can't come up with $5 for a dozen eggs, your shit's fucked up. You're doing something wrong. I'm sorry. If you're functional enough of a human being that you can go into a supermarket and buy something, I'm not talking about someone living in a tent on Venice Beach. I'm not talking about a shoeless, broke, mental issues, homeless person. Of course not. We have compassion for those folks. We should be helping them more than we do. I'm saying if you are getting in your car and going to a supermarket, you can fucking buy some organic eggs. There, I said it. Take care of yourself. Stop prioritizing materialistic bullshit and spend the money on your body and your food. To that note, where I could drop dead tomorrow, because that happens in life. I don't know. Do I have an embolism that's going to blow up in my sleep tonight? Will I have a heart attack because of some genetic shit? I don't know. But I'm fine with it because I've been pain-free and drug-free and getting good health reports ever, since I started checking. There's always that moment once a year when the nurse is going, wait, let me get I love doing actualities. Is this plugged in? Watch me log myself off. But you just hear just kind of the nurse going, and they're looking at the screen, and there's always that moment. I wait for it every year. They go, Mr. Chumley, what pharmacy do you use? And I say, oh, the CVS over at that. Hmm. Um, I'm not seeing your prescriptions. I'm not seeing your you know, I'm not on any. I, oh, okay. And well, that's good. That's good. What do you? I love that because it's um, we should all be happy that our fucking hard work gets results. And I'm 56-year-old African descent man, and it's sad that the medical industry says, but you should be diabetic or at least pre-diabetic. You should be. You should have gout. Your blood pressure is normal. What's going on? Your blood chemistry came back. It's great. What's going on? Your iron, calcium, phosphorus, your sodium, your potassium levels, they're spot on. What are you doing? Your bone density, wow, that's thanks. I got to work harder. Got to get my fat ass back on my bike. I got to I got to get back to some optimization. But phew, I can. Thanks for you know taking my blood, looking in my ears and my eyes and my mouth, and listening to my heart, looking at my every 10 years, right? You get a colonoscopy, and I give thanks because we're all gonna die. We're all gonna die. This notion that people eat health food or eat vegetarian because we think we'll live forever. Wow. People come up with the wildest shit to create a defense mechanism to eat shit, right? I've had that through the years. Well, no one's going to live forever, Andre, so I'm having a cheeseburger. Okay. Be my guest. I'm not having a cheeseburger so I can live forever. I'm not having it so I'm not complaining about migraines all the time like you do. So I'm not taking Pepcid and Tums and Nexium like you are. So I'm not getting a stent like you are. I don't want to have Coumadin. I'd rather. And hey, you do you. If that's it. But let's connect it, folks. Let's really stop pretending that we're in control to a large degree of our health. Genetics plays a major part. Genetics is huge. We're swimming up against stream to genetics, of course. I don't have any illusions there. I knock on wood. My dad had cancer. It's going to be 2 years that he died in about 12 days. This Friday would have been my dad's 80th birthday. So I mourn him every day. And he had a lot of stuff happening. He had dementia, Parkinson's right on the borderline there. There's a lot of issues around his health care and some family stuff. And I'll go to my grave never knowing whether he had the full and best care that he could have. But then he had prostate cancer on top of all that shit. So I knock on wood, but I don't know. Genetics, cancer, right? That's ravaging our planet. Fucking cancer. Jesus Christ. Name any of you, raise your hand if you don't know someone with cancer, if you haven't lost someone to cancer. So, but we don't do this. I'm not here for 2.5 hours so we can live forever, so you won't get. We don't know what we'll get, but we can tip the odds. See? We can tip the odds. We can err on the side of, hey, look, every bit of research shows what these phytonutrients do, what an alkaline diet does, what fiber, what optimizing your immune system, optimizing your digestion. Every study, come on. Highly absorbable minerals in your diet. I don't talk about that enough. The minerals. That's it. Minerals. Because your body's not going to be able to make enzymes and new skin and, your body makes cholesterol. You don't need to eat cholesterol. You'll make it. Cholesterol is awesome. That's right. You've heard a vegan today say eggs are awesome, milk is awesome, cholesterol is awesome. Yeah, I love cholesterol. It's lining my eyes, my brain, my nervous system. It means I don't have joint pains and things. Uh, I love cholesterol, but I'll make all that I need. Thanks. You can keep the rest. Something to think about, folks. You don't need to eat cholesterol. You're making it. What the fuck is wrong with us? So, again, my message uh, that I hope gets people to start researching more, gets people to start looking in, and gets people to try delicious foods. That's I love food, so that's what's driving this. Okay, so we're gonna finish on one more as I'm setting up this Jamaican food. It's called aki, and the other food is called kalaloo. Kalaloo is like a spinach type thing, and aki is a fruit of a tree, and it looks like um, it's like a white tofu looking flesh. Actually, kind of yellowish. It looks like tofu scramble, if you know what that is. That was a product with nutritional yeast and probably a natto or something to give it that flavor. But everywhere you go in Jamaica, they will serve you ackee. It's traditionally served with salt fish, which is a kind of a Portuguese influenced preserved fish that you see all around the third world. So Jamaican staple for breakfast, anytime you go to Jamaica, it'll be eggs, saltfish, and ackee. Great. That's actually really a healthy mix of things. I don't eat fish, and many Jamaicans don't, right? The Ital Rastafarians. So very easy to eat vegan in Jamaica. So we're gonna look. Let's share a video here of this people cooking ackee and saltfish. It's about 2 minutes long. Here we go. Look at that. Wow, pretty delicious meal there, folks. And let me pick a spot here. Wow, that's where right there. They let it simmer there. So again, it's like a spinach type thing. It's called kalaloo, and then this stuff is ackee, which you can really. And I know, it's canned, so there'll be some pushback there, but it's uh, in the United States. It doesn't grow as far as I know. Maybe in the Southwest, but anyway, you get it fresh and frozen in Jamaica, but it's very short shelf life if it's not frozen. So I've brought it up from Jamaica in my luggage. I freeze it and then you throw it in your suitcase frozen, maybe insulated or something, and yeah, you can bring a nice supply back dirt cheap in Jamaica. Up here, the company Grace has it in a can. There's a few versions, but in a can, it's pretty nice. It's just in salt water, but just I'm getting a nice shot of the finished product here. Yeah, look at that. Just delicious deep yellow, just delicious stuff. And then there's peppers and the kalaloo, which is the spinach type thing. So there you go, folks. A delicious meal. And I'm going to keep coming back to greens, and we're going to show some meals from around the world because I just said, you know what? Let's make this a continual theme. The delicious, let's see. Okay, great. The delicious types of greens and very simple foods that are out there across the world.
Okay, so to get started, I have about a...
Let's see. Oops, there's another recipe. So many recipes on YouTube. It's great. You could just watch food cooking. All right, folks. I am out of here. Great to hang with you. Thanks for being here. What a great bunch of people were here today. And I love it because some people are maybe going to try dandelion now, try some more greens. That means a lot to me that somebody added some stuff to their day. Thanks again. And let's see. I've got to go back to Zoom. Awesome. Here we are. We'll see you soon. And stay safe. Hang in there and keep on finding out new ways to get more plants in your diet. All the best. See